All right, all right. Welcome to the first episode of the Tills4Thrills podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tills4Thrills podcast, where we talk about current events, family, life, and hobbies. Hit that like and subscribe button if you find this podcast to be informative or entertaining, and share it with your friends and family. This is our first episode, like I said earlier, and we're looking to bring you more quality content with more guests coming in the future, so stay tuned. We'll start with one show a week, and the time and day is to be determined. I'd like to do it every Saturday. With that said, I'm going to introduce the guest for today. Give me 1 second. All right. You guys are unmuted now. So Nick, Gunner, go ahead, introduce yourself, starting with Gunner.
All right. Hey, y'all. I am Gunnar Christensen. I am still technically, sadly, in the military.
Say that one more time.
I didn't. You good. Oh, I'm Gunnar Christensen, and I'm still in the military. And right now, I am living in Temple, Texas, working at Fort Hood for Fort Cavazos.
All right. All right. Nick, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going, everybody? My name's Nick Straub. I am a veteran currently deployed to Fort Couch, aka the House.
Nice, nice. Where is that couch at?
That bad Larry is going to be in Flint, Michigan.
All right. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the topics today. We're going to be talking about veterans, active duty members. We're going to be talking about transitioning, finding a job, and difficulties surrounding that. We're going to go a little bit into Trump Doge topics with the VA, and we're going to top this off with motorcycles afterwards. Is that fair for everyone?
Motorcycle, yay!
Motorcycle.
I got no problem with motorcycle. Yeah.
All right, all right. So, starting with Gunner, because you're still active duty. Go ahead and tell us how long you've been in, what the entrance process was like, and what made you sign up for another 6-year contract, and what your plans are in the future for either getting out or re-enlisting.
All right. Yeah. So start at the beginning. So I enlisted in 2018. I know you enlisted in 17, so you got me beat by roughly a year, right? And so I went to Detroit MEPS, which is the Military Entrance Processing Center. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
Tell us what that was like, and include the butthole stuff.
Definitely bring up the butthole stuff.
All right. So MEPS, you are wherever you're at. You're gonna go to your city MEPS, which for me it was Detroit. Which rep in Detroit, love it. Okay, and you walk in, and you're a scared little kid, and there's all these angry civilian workers who are telling you you're not in the right area, telling you to go here, and then there's these angry majors and captains of your respective branch telling you sit here for 5 hours. Okay, so it's a lot of hurry up and wait. It's a good introduction to the military. And you're going to go through, and if you did the one-day MEPS like I did, you're going to get there super early. You're going to do all your paperwork, and then you're going to go and you're going to take off most of your clothes, and you're going to duck walk, right? Which is, as a grown man, having another full-grown man sit
like
there and tell your group of 20.
Like side by side, you guys are just doing the duck walk. Oh, my God. What the fuck is this?
Yeah. Just it's squat down and walk while you're squatting. You're in your boxers. You're with a bunch of other grown men
That you've never met before.
You've never met before. Dude, your knees are touching, and it's real weird.
So I think it's crazy that you went through once, because I had to go through twice, man. I depped in April. Too. I depped in, which is the delayed early entry program, and I swore in. And I had to go through all the MEPS process. And then again, right before I shipped out, I had to go through the MEPS process again.
Yeah, I was delayed entry program as well, so I had to do the same thing. Yeah. It was like a 2-day thing for me.
Well, let me get to this, and I'm going to give them a little hack. So they're going to ask you about your military, or if you go in the military, they're going to say, hey, are you on any medication? Keep your mouth shut if you are.
Lie. No, don't lie.
No, any recruiter will
Okay,
say the same thing. I think
'cause-
so back in 2008, I tried to join the Marines, and when I went to MEPS to go whatever, they were like, "Do you have any heartburn at all?" And I was like, "Yeah, I get a little bit of heartburn, like after I eat like spaghetti or whatever." And then boom, they were like, "Nope, he can't join. He's got heartburn." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Spaghetti's what got you.
What was it?
No,
what was it that my recruiter
no,
told me?
and my recruiter told me, he's like, "Why did you say that? You're supposed to be Superman. You're supposed to not have anything wrong with you."
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, why would I
tell me
like,
that, man.
yeah, you should have told me to lie, because I was told, like, hey man, if I go to the doctor, that's the only person I could tell everything to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember my recruiter, he was asking me one time, he was like, Do you have any like issues like like mentally, like like regulating your emotions? And I said, yeah, sometimes. He went, and he goes, no, you don't.
No,
I was
you
like,
fucking
okay,
don't. No, you don't, man.
fantastic.
So,
No, I don't.
So going back to Gunner, man, go ahead and continue the story, because I think this is good stuff, man.
So I did the butthole stuff twice. I messed up.
Oh, yeah.
So I was supposed to go through the one day.
You liked it so much you did it twice, huh?
Yeah, I really like that old white dude with the fattest knuckles you've ever seen on a human being.
Oh.
Okay, so this man pulls me in there, and I'm asking the questions, and I messed up, and I said I was at one point in my life on ADHD medication, like every young kid is. I said years ago, and he said, that's too bad.
Long ago?
Yeah, how long ago? And it just wasn't good enough for him, so I got a big 3 and a circle on my paperwork. And he still said, all right, well, let's get this out of the way. He's like, bend over. I was like, cool. Check my reflexes. He's like, your pants still up. And I was like,
gotcha, dog.
he's sitting there with the fucking magnifying glass looking into that butthole, huh?
Yep. Thank God I didn't have hemorrhoids at the time. Those came later. He sat there and he stuck his finger.
The VA won't cover it.
Bullshit. I'll fight a VA member if they tell me my hemorrhoids have gotten worse. So he stuck his fucking big ass pointer finger in my butthole and told me cough. And I was like, I can't fucking breathe right now.
Brother, that sounds like sexual assault. That didn't happen to me.
Jesus.
And then I went back another time, about 2 weeks later, and to do it all over again. Because I told him I had ADHD medication. So if someone's gonna touch your butthole at MEPS, they're gonna fondle your balls if you're a male.
Yeah.
Okay, they ask you to cough, and then you're gonna, with 30 other dudes in one room, you're gonna duck walk from one side to the next.
Oh man.
While being damn near naked. So it's great. I recommend everybody do it.
So it's so funny. It's so funny that you say that, because I had a love-hate relationship while I was in, man. And it was like, the military does a really good job at taking care of me and my family and making sure that, we're secured. But then you look at some of the day-to-day tasks that you do, and it's so mundane. But when you prepare to get out and you're able to put you get some assistance on putting that on paper for experience, like on a resume, dude, it's freaking magical. It's like, holy shit. Like, I didn't realize that all the stuff I did was so cool and important.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, it's different for you because you're a medic, right?
Yeah, so I'm a medic, but
you're the doc, man. So like that really all in itself is like, hey man, I need an IV. I got a little too drunk last night.
Well, joke's on you. I was right there. If you're a good doc and you're on the line, you know what I mean? You're in a force comm unit. You're right there with them getting drunk. And it really comes down to, are you good with your guys? Do they want to call you doc? Because if you if you mess with them and you mess up, guess what? You're never getting again.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get called Doc again. It's the general trust.
Yeah.
And it's also, can I hit this stick while I myself am shit faced? A stick being, I'm gonna hit that vein with my IV needle so I can get a line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're right there with them.
I was about to say, explain that for the civilian audience.
Yeah, so you being a doc in a force comm unit, you're either with cavalry scouts, tankers, engineers, or infantry. Those are your three, right? Me and my career, I've been with actually in mortars. My bad. I've been with the mortars at one point, the scouts battalion with another. I got 2 infantry companies I've covered down on, and a tanker company. Right. So I've done just about all the drunk sticks you can do with all the weirdos you'll ever meet in a unit. Okay. So you look at what can you do, I can do a lot.
So you mentioned earlier when we were talking offline that you're about to PCS, which is a permanent change of station, right?
Yeah.
Where is the Army sending you now?
So the Army, I had to fight for it. I fought to get MedCom station, which is Fort Detrick, Maryland. So they're going to be sitting over there here soon.
Say that one more time because you kind of broke up a little bit.
You're good. So Fort Detrick.
Fort Detrick in Maryland.
Detrick, yeah, that's in Maryland.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So and you wanted to go there? Like you told them that's where I want to go?
Well, yes and no. You know how that goes.
Right.
It was either that or stay here for another 2 years and do 9 years at one duty station. I've already overstayed my welcome in Fort Hood by quite a few years. So you know what I mean. It's hey, I'm gonna need you guys to send me somewhere else so I can start my career. Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, hey, I have to go somewhere else, big dog. And for me, my career is for Dietrich now.
Right. Okay. Well, that's understandable, needs of the Army and everything.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
okay.
needs of the Army.
so moving on to Nick, man. Can you give us a overview of your experience in the Army and what's led you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Well, my experience was a lot different than Gunner's. Back in 2016, I joined the U.S. infantry in the Army, and I made it through most of my training, and then I got hurt. I ended up fracturing my pelvis in a couple different places, which I don't know if y'all know. That's a hard bone to break. Yeah. So that sucked.
I think in basic training, I got a fracture towards the end. They didn't tell me it was a fracture until I got to Fort Hood, though. They said, "Oh, yeah, you just bruised your bone, bro. Go ahead, continue."
yeah, continue, dude. And you're like fighting for your life because it's not like the most excruciating pain that you've ever been in, but like for me specifically, I like cracked it almost in like 3 different places. So it was like pretty rough for me. I was supposed to be in a wheelchair for like 2 months. I was in a wheelchair for like 2 weeks, and they put me on crutches, which didn't help because my other side of my hip had to compensate. So my hips are like kind of messed up now. But I ended up getting sent home because I was messed up, like too messed up to be able to continue training. I worked a private security job for a couple years, and the men in my family have always gone into the military, and I knew that I was going to go into the military since I was like 5 or 6 years old. I knew I was going to wear a uniform. I just didn't know which one it was going to be. I would have liked for it to be the Marine Corps because those camis are just so sexy. But, the U.S. Army got that ass. So I re-enlisted again as prior service, and I wanted to go back into the infantry. And the big army came down and said, because of the fractures last time, we want you to do a regular POG contract, which a POG is just personnel other than grunts, so it's anything that isn't combat arms. Like infantryman, cav scout, tanker, stuff like that. So I decided to be an 88 Mike, or as we like to call it, an 88 Mistake, which is a motor transport operator, basically a semi-truck driver.
Okay.
Went through basic training again, this time at a different basic training location. In the infantry, I went to Fort Benning School for Wayward Boys, which is in Columbus, Georgia. And the second time I went to what we call Relaxin' Jackson, which is Fort Jackson in South Carolina. It lived up to its name. Not for others, though.
So, hold on, wait.
Others had a very difficult time.
Did you go there for training or did you go there as a station?
No, I had to redo basic training all over again because I was out for so long. Like when you get out and you go to re-enlist, there's a certain window that you have before you can just come back in and just get sent right to a duty station. But if you're outside that window, you have to redo what's called IET, which is initial entry training, which is your basic training and your job training. You have to go redo that stuff.
What's really funny? So they sent me to Fort Jackson for my basic training, and there was nothing relaxing about it for me. I got the shit end of the stick. But then after I went to Korea, I got orders to go to Jackson and, as a station, not basic training. And dude,
had the time of your life.
I had the time of my life. I had the time of my life.
Oh yeah. I tell you, Korea is a hell of a duty station.
Oh man, it was wild.
Yeah.
Camp Humphreys, holy shit, that whole year was amazing.
Oh, you were at Humphreys?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And let me tell you, I worked hard, but equally I was able to play hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I went to Fort Jackson the second time, and then I did I graduated that, did my AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training. That's your job training to go be a semi-truck driver. I did that at what's it called? We call it Lost in the Woods.
Oh, Leonard Wood.
What is it? Fort what in Missouri? Yeah, Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. So I did that for 6 weeks, graduated that. Thought I wasn't gonna pass because I'm kind of dumb. So
hey, no arguing.
So you have to. Yeah, so you have to take a book test, and they don't tell you that your final book test that you have to take, it's 2 days before your graduation. So there's not really any room for error. So I was trying not to shit the bed, but I ended up passing it anyways. And then I got sent to Fort Eustis, Virginia, which we call Fort Useless. And I got assigned to a SOC, which is a Seaport Operations Company. There's only 2 SOCs currently that are active in the entire U.S. Army, and I was in one of them. The other one is in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I got assigned to the other one in Fort Eustis, Virginia. And I served my time there. Had a couple incidents with Article 15s maybe, but for the most part it was okay. It was definitely the best job I ever had, but it was definitely the worst job I've ever had. I'm not sure if you can relate to that.
Oh man, you know what? I can on a level, because listen, man, serving in the U.S. military, just as a POG alone, was so great for me, my family. We accomplished so much in the almost 8 years that I was active duty. And they, like I said, they took care of me. But the day-to-day tasks, the horrible, every once in a while you'd get just that horrible leader that you can't stand, but you have to do what they say. And it's just, are you kidding me right now? I had some of the best leadership and mentor, and then some of the worst, and it was constantly changing. So, you're never stuck with the same leader for too long.
Sure.
So I definitely hated a lot of that, and just hard, grueling work too sometimes. And it's just so annoying because you're having to deal with, 20 other people around you, or maybe 100 other people around you who don't want to do shit, and you have maybe 5 people who are actually working, but then 20 other people sitting on their phones not doing anything or talking about basketball or football or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and some of the worst part about that is that those 100 people, if there's 10 people doing the right thing and there's 100 other people sitting on the sidelines watching, the most excruciating thing is watching those 100 people get promoted, get rewarded,
dude.
get to go home early, get to go sit in the smoke pit, and you're like, motherfucker, and you're unloading a Connex, which is basically like this massive shipping container that's just full of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's right before lunch and you're the only person doing it. So now you're the one that has to watch it. So you don't get to go take your lunch on time. And like, it's just,
Yeah. No.
And then with the leadership thing, like you said, I mean, like sometimes you'll have a great leader that'll, hey man, if everything's done, you can go home. Just make sure that I know where you're at. And you're like, hey, check Raj. That's too easy for me. So, and then you get that other leader that's like, and it's always something that's common sense. Like you would seem to think that common sense would be really common in the military, but it's not. The military has everything like precisely coordinated and dumbed down to a point that a lot of times it gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
And plus, too, like, let's be honest here, like it's the U.S. Army, it's not the Air Force. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to be a rocket scientist to join,
Dude,
bro. So there's a lot of people in there that are kind of like, they're kind of out there.
In Fort Jackson, I was kind of a supervisor at the ammunition supply point, and we would get a detail of basic trainees who would come and assist with some of the ammunition sorting, right? And so when they didn't have anything to do, they were sitting in the office and we'd all, cut up and shoot the shit, whatever. And one of them had asked me, they were like, hey, Corporal Tiller, if you could go back to the beginning of your military career and do it all over again, what would you do differently? And I, on the spot, was just like, I'd join the fucking Air Force.
Yep, 100% agree. That like a lot of Air Force units PT on their own, and they only get together for group PT once a week. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you don't pass your PT test, like, sucks to be you. You know what I mean? Like, you just get kicked out. Like, I'd much rather have that than like unit PT every day doing some stupid shit.
Yeah. So I do want to go back to Gunner for a second, because man, let me tell you, as a military medic, you guys are fucking psychotic. I want to let you know. So every unit that I was in, I was always chosen to go to the CLS course. I was always the CLS, right?
Yeah,
which to the people who don't understand what that means, that's a combat lifesavers course, right? Or the TC3.
Yeah.
So
we call it TCCC now.
Yeah, TCCC.
So
tactical combat casualty care. Go ahead.
So one of the biggest things throughout the course is stop the bleeding, right? And so in order to do so, we use tourniquets that go up on the upper extremities, and you're supposed to tie it so tight that it's physically,
somebody screams.
Yeah, it's physically painful, man. I went through the course and I had bruises on my arms and everything, and just legs, and holy crap, dude, that shit sucked.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, the whole point of the TCCC is, we identified that for the initial push in Iraq, we identified that some of these dudes' training wasn't up to snuff, you know what I mean? Like, we can put a tube down your nose that basically opens up your airway, but these dudes in Iraq were sending their patients back to the role 2 or to the role 1 with how we used to do it in training, which was tape it to the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we identified very quickly, hey, we've got to get these skills down to you guys, and get the average soldier who is not a medic to be able to help us out by doing a portion of our job before we even get to show up.
Well, yeah, because most of those casualties could have been very limited, just due to the comprehension of what it is you have to do before help arrives, right? Like somebody can bleed out in minutes versus the medic who's probably going to take anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes to get there.
Yeah, especially because when you look at your medic and how we're put into the unit, I'm sitting there with the platoon sergeant who, for anyone who doesn't know, is, the person who is more towards the rear of a platoon formation, directing things. And I have to stay with him until he tells me, hey, it's safe to go here and treat these guys, or, till they pull them back to us and I can start working my magic and, helping them get to the next level of care, which they're entitled to.
Right.
But that could be, how long does a firefight take? It could take an hour. It could take more, honestly. So
Can I
it's
jump
just
in real quick?
Yeah.
absolutely.
The other thing too, I just wanted to point out for people that aren't in the military, or for people that just don't know, when he says the platoon sergeant, that would be the civilian equivalent of your boss's boss's boss. So you can see how quick and easy things can get lost in translation. They might tell someone's boss that hey, he's urgent and he has a gunshot wound to the chest, and by the time that it reaches the medics, they might hear all types of different things.
Yeah, it's kind of like
he could be.
It's kind of like the game you play when you're kids in kindergarten, and it's like sup, pass it on, and then the first initial message that was passed down to 30 different people now becomes
the game of telephone.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's all discombobulated. It makes no sense. It could go from the chocolate milk is really good, pass it on, and then by the time it gets to the end, it's going to be like, oh well, Nicole has boogers in her nose.
Yeah, fuck Nicole. That's gross.
Yeah.
So going back to,
but absolutely,
going back to the fact that Gunner being the medics are fucking psychos. While they're sitting there basically torturing you with these tourniquets, you got the medics over here laughing and saying, "Go tighter."
Yeah, tighter. Yeah.
Hey Matt, so there's a saying that all of us medics have. I mean, we live by it. Don't you dare get me wrong. It is pain is a patient's problem.
Yeah.
And trust me, I will make sure you know that it is not my problem. It's only yours.
Hey, can you hold this? Yeah. What is it? Oh, that's my leg. What the fuck? It's okay, bro. You're gonna be
hold this for me. Yeah.
The infamous Nick or whatever his gamer tag is in YouTube. He kind of hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Oh, Nico Ortiz.
Nico Ortiz. We are very. I don't care how you feel right now. You're gonna feel a lot worse. But that's because I know in 2 hours you're going to be at a better level of care, and everything that I've done to hurt you is going to help you in the end. Stay with me.
So going back to Nick, I want to kind of chime in a little bit on this. You were at Fort Eustis, again, aka Useless, and you met our mutual friend Carter Brooks.
Oh yeah. I love Carter so much.
He's an awesome guy. He was one of the best leaders that I've ever had in my entire military career. And
you want to know my first ever experience with him?
Yeah, go for it.
So my first ever experience with Carter, Sergeant Brooks, aka Dad. So I had just got to my duty station, right? So I had got there October 28th, and my 21st birthday was November 2nd, right? So I knew I was about to get drunk, right? But I got there October 28th. On October 29th, I had my barracks room and stuff, and we have our barracks are set up, well, at least mine were at Fort Eustis. They were set up like big squares, right? Like each building was a piece of the square.
Right.
And you'd have this courtyard in the middle, and a lot of times there's what we call the smoke pit in the middle of the courtyard, which is basically just a pavilion with like one of those stand-up ashtrays, and it's got benches on it, so soldiers can come and smoke their cigarettes, and and a lot of times like there's grills out there and people hang out and grill meat and cook food, and like it's a it's a get together. Well, when I first got to my first duty station, the only civilian clothes that I had on me were like, do you remember those clothes that they used to sell you for like $80 million in basic training? It's like Army Performance. And it's $1 million fucking dollars.
It was like Say Less or Too Easy or whatever.
They would say like Too Easy. Yeah, but they would be like not even paper thin. They'd be like mesh, like super breathable almost. And I got there at the end of October, and this is like Virginia. When I say Virginia, I'm talking like I can see the ocean.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like it cold, right? And it was I'll never forget this, dude. It was like 38 degrees outside.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
the only clothes I had was that Too Easy like sweatshirt thing that was like super mesh breathable.
Yeah.
So it basically just like hid your nipples. That was basically it. And those do you remember the Army Performance sweatpants shorts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had those, right? So this is my one outfit, and I had like some Adidas slides, right?
Jesus.
And I see this guy sitting in the smoke pit, and he's playing guitar, and he's smoking a cigarette. And so I'm like, fuck yeah, it's my chance to make homies, right? So I go out there, and I was like, hey man, you care if I sit down? And he's like, no, dude, for sure, go for it. So I sit down, I light up a cigarette, I start burning one down with him, and I realize he's playing a Nirvana song. I couldn't tell you what the song was now, like to save my life.
It's probably something along
And
the
he
lines
goes,
of Lake of Fire or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
a good
that.
one.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think, because I had a conversation with him recently, and I think he said that's probably one of his favorite songs from Nirvana is Lake of Fire.
Yeah, that's probably what it was then.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh yeah, this is like one of my favorite songs. Because I was like, is that Nirvana? And he was like, oh yeah, dude. He was like, you like music? I was like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not crazy, so yeah. So him and I are get to smoking and joking, and we end up talking in the smoke pit for like 2 hours. And I'm shaking, dude. Like, I'm smoking a cigarette, my hands are shaking. I'm like bundled to like holding myself and stuff. And he was like, why don't you go change, dude? And I'm like, I don't have any civilian clothes. I just got here less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, okay. And he goes, well, I tell you what. He goes, follow me. I go, okay. And obviously he had introduced himself. He's an NCO with a different unit from a different battalion that was different than mine. So, like, I knew that we weren't going to see each other at work or anything like that.
Right.
But he goes, follow me. So I said, okay. We go to his barracks room, which was on like the opposite building from me, and it was like around the corner. And I didn't really think anything of it, like him and I had just had 2 hours worth of conversation.
Yeah, you're like, he's not going to date rape me right now.
Yeah, like he's not gonna like drug me and I'm gonna wake up with like a sore ass or anything like that. Like he had played me like a song that he was trying to write, which is now in his band now. I mean, it's one of his best songs.
Yeah.
Or one of his top songs, I should say. But so we go to his barracks room and he sets his guitar down.
It was originally called May.
Yeah, it was originally called May. It was
named after, unfortunately, one of his ex-girlfriends. But
yep.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so we go to his barracks room and he gives me a sweatshirt to throw on, and he goes, "Come with me." I say, "Okay," and he pulls out his phone and I see that he's getting on Uber. So I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like are we going somewhere? Like, where are we going? I thought we're like, he wanted to like go get something to eat or something like that. Well, we end up getting in this Uber and he takes me to the local Walmart. And without even knowing me, really, I mean, he knew my name. He knew my name. He knew like my rank. He knew like what unit I was assigned to. But he took me to the local Walmart, man, and I shit you not, he bought me $200 worth of civilian clothes out of his own pocket, and didn't expect me to pay it back. He just said, I want you to have this. I want you to be comfortable. Like, not a lot of people like get welcomed and stuff like that here. Like, so I just wanted to show you, that like you have a friend basically. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, like nobody had done something like this for me, like, in the military, and even like beyond, like even like when I got out, like nobody had done anything like that for me ever since then.
Yeah, no. So, Carter Brooks, saved in my phone is Sergeant Carter fucking Fly Dude the First Brooks. And, but yeah, no, he actually formed the band The Top Line Addicts.
Yep, Top Line Addicts.
You can find their music on Spotify. Just type in The Top Line Addicts and you can find their page. And the song that we were referencing, the first song that he wrote, that he actually took 10 years to write.
Yeah, it took a long time.
It was originally called May. Now it's on there with 200.
Isn't it Dance With Me?
No, it's 291,000 monthly listeners. And it's called Sweet Things. Now, Dance With Me.
Sweet Things.
Dance With Me is another great song at 7.6 million listeners. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and it's great. You know what else is crazy? Is I remember I remember us being in the barracks, me, him, and his buddy Dakota, who ended up becoming my buddy.
Yeah.
But I remember he's like, man, I tell you what, one day I'm gonna get out of the military and I'm gonna start a band. And I was like, do it, dude. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, why
Yeah.
not? And he did it.
Well, he was
You know, and the music is
Oh, it
fantastic.
really is. You know, I actually helped him write a few of his songs as a drummer myself. I helped him write a few of those songs. Like and
Yeah, he told
it
me
was
about that
originating
too.
from Sweet Things. I helped him write let me see right here. Let me play a little snippet of Dance with Me. Or no,
Yeah, hit him with the goodness.
I'm sorry. Hold on. So Dance with Me, I didn't help him write at all. He wrote that. I believe he was in Washington when he wrote that one.
Yeah, it was after he left
So
Eustis and
the
Hood.
3 songs that I know that I helped him write, and I don't want to say like, oh yeah, I was such an integral part of the band at all. No, like that's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
I gave him ideas. You know, we jammed together, we played together. I gave him ideas that he used later on, and you know, that was where my limitations were, right? Like I just gave him ideas. I didn't help him actually write the songs. So I'm looking at the Spotify chart now. It's B. Arthur, which I helped him name that song. Like and Sweet Things, which was his first song that he presented to me as far as his originals go, and Gotta Thank God. And that one is really cool because I really want to play this. It started out, it was called Spaghetti Western because it reminded him of like those old Clint Eastwood, you know, cheesy whatever. And what he told me, he said, the song sounds like it's trying to take itself seriously, but it's really not that serious. So hold on, here we go. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to hear it. I'm going to play it for the audience though.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let him hear the goodness.
So that's a small snippet, and if you guys enjoy that, you can go to Spotify and you can look up the Top Line Addicts, and this is the gentleman that we're referring to now, who was actually my leader in the Army. And I would always, you know, because they have a big thing about fraternization. You know, leadership can't hang out with their soldiers.
Yeah.
Like off.
Big thing
about it. Like they're not allowed to because they don't want them to play favorites at all. And the funny thing is I would always be like, hey man, I got some Dos Equis at the house. You know, you want to come over, hang out? And he's like, no. You know?
He was telling me about that too the whole time.
Yeah. So one night I texted him. I was making mango margaritas at home. And I texted him. I was like, hey man, I got some mango margaritas. You want to come through? And he was like, fuck it. Whatever. So he came over 5 minutes into us talking at the house, like on a personal level, outside of him being my NCO. We started talking about music and how we're both musicians. And I'm like, no way. What's your favorite genre? And he's like, oh, I really love like 90s rock, like the grunge era rock, you know, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all that stuff. And I was like, get the fuck. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm actually a musician. I got a whole bunch of music recording equipment. I'm working on an album. I was like, bro, let's go now. Like, I will go to your barracks room. You get your guitars and bring them over here and we'll jam. And, you know, aside from him being one of my best friends today, he was just the greatest mentor that I had as far as, you know, doing my daily job and being a leader in the United States Army.
Yeah, he was really influential for me as far as like dealing with bad leadership or what we would like to call toxic leadership, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I would present a problem to him and I would say, you know, like, am I wrong to want to respond this way? And he'd be like, no, you wouldn't be wrong to want to respond this way, but this is how you probably should respond if you want this outcome.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be like, oh, okay. So like he got me to like change my thinking about like, you know, like how I respond to people in certain situations. And also too, like, you know, he became my best friend.
Right.
You know, I mean, obviously the worst part about the military is that, you know, the Army will give you your best friends and then rip them away 2 months later, which is exactly what happened.
No, it's tragic, man, because I have friends all over the world now who
same.
I'm really close to, but I can't see them. Like thank God for, video calls and video conferences.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But, it's sad to be with them every day at one point and then not be with them at all.
Yeah, well, and it's funny too. Like, I remember, like, I was going through my old Snapchat memories the other day on my phone, and I found like photos of like Carter and Dakota and I sitting in Sonic's like parking lot, like being goofy, sticking straws in our nose. And then the next thought that I'm thinking is like remembering crying in my barracks room because my best friend just left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then having to go to work the next day like nothing happened.
Well,
And that's just the reality of it.
Freaking going back to the terrible leadership, though, we had a commander. I won't mention his name because I don't want anything bad.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't do it.
So we
do it at your own risk.
We had a captain who and Carter going through the military was very depressed. He didn't want to be there anymore, and he was just having a really difficult time. And he kept a journal where he would write certain things down. About how he was feeling, right? And he mixed up his notebooks because you had the green notebooks for taking notes in the army, and he had the green notebook as well for taking notes on his personal whatever it may be. And he accidentally took the notes one and left behind the depressed one,
the personal one,
and our first sergeant found it and gave it to the commander and was like, dude, I don't know what to do about this. And I, really want to keep this under wraps and whatever it may be. Yeah. And so they called him into the office, and our commander at the time was like, have you ever thought about going hunting? Like that, it's a good leisure activity, blah, 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 blah. And so later on, Carter went back and wrote in his book, he's like, yeah, sure. Tell a suicidal kid to go sit out in the woods with a gun all alone.
Yeah, I remember him calling and texting Dakota and I about this, and he was like, what a dumbass. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He's like, what a donut. Why would you say that to me?
Yeah, exactly.
We were like, that's great. Like, we couldn't believe it.
But that's a strong example of shitty military leadership. It's like you can have a degree and still be a moron.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You see it day after day in the military.
I mean, you got to think from my own personal experience, and I know we've all probably seen it, is, when you come in to the military, you're going to notice very quickly your officers start out as platoon leaders, right?
Yeah.
And the dude who says, oh yeah, I run this platoon, but you look at it and you're like, oh, why is my NCO telling you no?
Yeah, but do you though?
Yeah, holding you back and be like, nah.
Like, hey, what's going on, recognize my rank, bro.
Yeah, recognize my, the old trope of like, I am a higher rank. I will beat the shit out of you.
Well, it's always so funny because, like you said, you start out as platoon leaders, which is usually just like you're managing 40 people, right?
Yeah.
And
about.
So sure, they still have to take orders from higher up, but then you have the first sergeant who tells this officer who the first sergeant is effectively part of the command team, right? And he'll tell him, hey, don't do that, or do this instead, or go here now. And then the officer's like, wait a minute, bro, I outrank you. It's like, no.
Yeah, I'm an officer.
You've been an officer for 6 months. I've been an enlisted member of the military for 20 years. Like, come on now. Who has the who outranks who in reality? Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, sir. The only thing you deserve is my morning salute walking to PT.
It reminds me of that Mel Gibson movie. I think it was a Mel Gibson movie. I could be wrong, but the kid would salute the first sergeant back whenever they actually saluted NCOs back then. And he's like, good morning, first sergeant. And he's like, how the fuck would you know what kind of morning it is?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about, Sergeant Major. That was Trumley. Sergeant Major.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, you got to think, though. Your old heads, dude, they didn't want to talk to you.
No.
You know what I mean? You were there, and they were there because they had to be there.
Well, it's
they
so
didn't want to
funny.
get caught dead talking to you.
No, it's so funny to me, though, because I always had a really good relationship with my sergeant majors at the battalion level, right? So you got, break it down real quick, you have a company level, which is about maybe 300, 400 people, something like that. Then you have battalion level. that oversees multiple companies, and then you got brigade and so on and so forth, right? So
and battalion can be like in the low thousands, and like brigade can, I mean, you could be talking about up to, I mean, tens of thousands. I mean, who knows?
yeah, no, it
Depends on the brigade, obviously,
it's
but
really a big thing. And you know, I always had a good working relationship with my sergeant majors. You know, I had one guy, he was a Puerto Rican dude, and he Sergeant Major Muniz, he was a really great guy. But when you look at his like photo for like the chain of command or whatever, he looked like he was giving you serial killer eyes.
oh yeah, those are my favorite command photos,
But
to be honest
he'd
with you.
always come up to me and he'd always get my name wrong. So my name's pronounced Tiller, but he would always be like, Tyler, how you doing, Tyler? What's going on? Hey, come here. Come talk to me, Tyler. And I didn't have the heart to correct him because he was just so fucking excited to see me, you know?
Yeah, bro's pumped up to be here, you know?
Oh, yeah. And he was a really good sergeant major. I didn't like the commander of the brigade, of the battalion at the time, but the sergeant major was always really good. When I went to Korea.
Yeah, I kind of had the same experience.
Yeah, when I went to Korea, the commander was really good, but the sergeant major that was in charge of it, oh my God, dude.
Hot doo-doo.
Just doo-doo, bro. And you know what? It's so funny too, because I didn't like him. I disliked him severely, and he absolutely loved me. He actually so I went to the promotion board to try to get my promotable status, and he called me in after I got done with the whole questioning and the creed of the non-commissioned officer, all that stuff. And he was like, what can we do for you to make you stay in Korea for as long as possible? Because we want you to stay here. We want you to be an effective leader. We like apparently I sold
You're
myself.
like, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, man. It was, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, you know, I think
Sure.
because I was there without my family. I was like, well, if you can get my family over here, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, I already knew at that time that I just wanted to make my exit out of the Army as soon as my contract was up. And for all of that stuff to happen, I would have had to extend or re-enlist to stay there.
Yeah. How long did you have on your contract at that point?
At that point, I had been there for about half a year. So I had about,
because Korea is, if I'm not mistaken, well, at least when I was in, it was 1 year without your family as a single soldier, or 3 years with your family, right?
No, it was 2 years. So
oh, okay.
1 year without your family, it's hardship tour. If you have your family there, it's 2 years. Now they're changing it. I think you got to be there for a minimum of 3 years. They're treating it like an actual duty station, like as if it were in the United States.
Okay.
But so here's the thing. So I was there, I was only supposed to be there for a year. If at any point during that time I had successfully got it signed off to have my family fly to Korea and stay there with me, it would have added 2 years having to be in Korea.
Yeah, and when you already know too that you're like, okay,
yeah,
you know, like all this day-to-day BS, like this, it's kind of getting to you. And like when you already know that, like, yeah, it's about that time, hearing that it's going to be an extra 2 years, you're like, ooh.
Well,
you know?
well, and so to answer your question from earlier, because I forgot to answer that, it was, by the time I made it to Korea, I had approximately 3 years left on my contract. Because so I did my year, I came home, went from Texas, I drove out to South Carolina to be stationed in Fort Jackson, and I was there for about 1.5 years, and then made my exit, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had 3 years left on my contract. I didn't want to extend. I didn't want to re-enlist or anything like that. I already knew that was going to happen. So there was effectively nothing that the sergeant major could do to get me to stay.
Yeah.
But
did they waive that fancy like $20,000, $40,000 bonus in front of you? Retention did?
No, actually, at the time. So because I was a specialist, I was an E4. I was not a non-commissioned officer.
You had your P status though, right?
Yeah.
Your
So
promotable status.
So I was going through. Yeah, I eventually made it to corporal. So I just got laterally promoted. I didn't get E5, right?
Oh, okay.
But the bonuses were for my duty position, which was ammunition specialist or 89 Bravo, was only for E5 and up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it is what it is, and I think it was only like $6,000 or something like that. So
yeah, so it's like not even worth it because by the time they tax the piss out of it, they're like, here's your $2,500.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
And you're like, woohoo!
So is what it is. Yeah. So going to transitioning, and I know you had a little bit more of a difficult time going through your process. So we're not going to get into all the specifics and details and whatnot. But what was going through the VA like for you?
It was interesting, man. So, well, do you want to talk about the VA first, or do you want to talk about like the process of getting out first, like going through SFL TAP and?
Oh, I mean, I can hit on those in a little bit. I do want to get to the VA for a minute, just because
absolutely.
The process in which you had to go through to get out was vastly different than mine.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so when you get out of the military, you obviously want to start getting in contact with the VA. I mean, unless you're just one of those guys that, you're maybe too proud or, it's just not for you, that's fine.
Hold on, wait a second. I do want to make this abundantly clear before we continue. They have a 90-day window while you're active duty to get in contact with the VA and start your process there while you're active, because it's what is it? From your exit date, you cannot be any more than 100 days out, and you cannot have less than 90 days before you start that process, right? So that gives you like a little 90-day window, 6 months before you get out, or whatever, to go through that process and be first come first serve basis, where it's like, hey man, you came in, we're gonna get you whatever. But then when you're a veteran, the process takes a little bit longer.
Yeah, so like with what you're talking about with the 90 days, like you said, you get precedence over current veterans a lot of the times, but it's because you're still active duty.
Right.
So, if anybody out here is listening to that and they're about to transition out of the military, you might want to take that ass to the VA, Yeah. And a lot of the times there's a liaison that's on post, especially if you're on like a ForceCom post or like a bigger installation like Bragg, Hood, Benning, all these bigger installations. A lot of times there will be a liaison in a certain building. For me, it was building 650, for example, but there'll be a liaison that, coordinates between you as the soon to be veteran and the Veterans Affairs.
Right. So,
but
so I just went to the VA. Unfortunately, I missed my window to that 90-day window to go through it all. But as soon as my exact ETS date came up, it was on a weekend, and then that very next week I went to the VA and started the claim process, right? I got an email regarding like, hey, we understand you did this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Take this phone number and save it into your phone so you know who's calling you when we try to get in contact with you. And that was back on February 25th or 26th. And I still haven't received a phone call.
Yeah, welcome to the Veterans Affairs, big dog.
so
welcome to the party. So been here for years.
So you registered with the VA once you got out, and tell me what that process was like for you.
So I wasn't one of the veterans that like got out and immediately went to the VA, because I didn't have like any info. I had really, really bad leadership. So the whole 90-day thing, talking with you right now is like the third time that I've heard that. And I've been out for 5 years, or going on 5 years this December.
Damn, has it been that long?
So yeah, I didn't even know.
I remember having you in my house, man.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so I wasn't one of the guys that like immediately went to the VA. I think I waited. It's not that I waited like out of choice or anything like that. I just didn't have enough information to be able to like make an educated decision. But I ended up going to the VA it was either 6 to 8 months after I got out, somewhere in that time frame. And I was in Arizona at the time. like I said earlier, I'm from Michigan as well. And I had gotten married in the military, and my wife at the time's family was from Arizona. So I decided to put my stuff in the back of a U-Haul, drive out to Arizona. So I filed with the Arizona VA. My expectation of things, I think, was a lot more skewed than it should have been. I expected that, because we all hear from like our grandparents and our aunts and uncles that, going to the VA is a terrible process. Everything takes so long. They don't call you back, all this stuff. So I kind of had like this view in my mind that like, well, it's kind of the 21st century. We have the technology, like we should expect like, a decent response in a decent amount of time.
Right.
No, not at all. Like when you join the VA, like if you have a good VA, like they'll immediately get you your care team, which is called like your PCM, which is your primary care manager, aka your doctor, right? Like they'll get you set up with your PCM, so your doctors and stuff, and they'll give you your intake appointments and like figure out what's going on with you. And if you file a claim, like I did, like I didn't go into a VA facility and was like, hey, I want to sign up for healthcare. I immediately just filed a claim because all of my other buddies who are veterans are like, you need to file a claim with the VA, And I was like, okay, cool. So I just hopped on the VA website, created an account, and there's a couple different options to sign in. I personally use ID.me. I think it's the easiest one to use. I don't use My Health eVet, which I heard is going away.
Yeah, I use ID.me too, because I set that up. So they have incentives, for wherever you get stationed. There's like if there's a theme park around you or something like that, like
Yeah.
you can sign up with ID.me so that you can verify your military. So when you get those free tickets to go to these theme parks or discounted tickets or whatever it may be. So when I went through TAP, which is the Transition Assistance Program, I just logged into all of my government websites with the ID.me tag.
Yeah. So for me, a lot of guys or girls, they go and they get what's called a VSO, which is a veteran services officer. They kind of like help navigate and like guide you through the process of a claim or just through like your care. A lot of times they can.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't use that.
Hey, I'm sorry to do this. We're coming up on the top of the hour, and we're going to take a quick break. And then
absolutely, let's do it.
We come back. We're going to go ahead and continue this. All right.
Sounds good to me.
All right. All right. We are back, and we're going to start this conversation by continuing the VA process with Nick Straub.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Hopefully, everybody got their lickies and chewies, their snacks and drinks, as
Man,
the
lickies and
civilians say.
chewies.
You and that damn
Lickies and
word,
chewies.
lickies and chewies.
Gotta get them while they're hot. So before the break, we were talking about, we were talking about VSOs and like the way that I personally went through like my claim process. Like we said earlier, I just want to reiterate, if you're not sure about how to go about things with the VA, I would strongly consider going with a VSO, Veteran Services Officer. You can Google them. You can look up VSOs near me. You can, we have the technology now, folks. So, you can take it upon yourself and and this is even before you get out too. You could be active duty here in this with 6 months left in your contract and start looking for a VSO and you can see the reviews, you can go ahead and go that route. I personally didn't because like I said before the break, I didn't have the information that I needed to make an educated decision on whether or not I was even going to utilize the VA services. Looking back on it, I'm extremely glad that I did choose to utilize the VA services.
Right.
But the way that I filed my claim, is I just got on the VA website and there is, I signed in, I created my account, I signed in, and there is a page on there that says file a claim.
Oh,
and I was like,
simple.
well, these are what the homies are saying. I was like, well, I guess, here we go, I guess. So I put in, and when you hit file a claim on the VA website, it's going to ask you a bunch of things like, is this going to be, is this going to be a primary claim? Is this going to be a secondary claim? Is this, you know what I mean? And if you're not, one of the type of people that like, well, I'll just Google everything, this is where a VSO can come in handy.
Right.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. I had to cough real bad. So I just hit file a claim. I inputted the information that I wanted to file the claim for, and I submitted it.
Right.
And now we wait.
So
go ahead.
How long was it before anybody got into contact with you?
I think so. I filed a couple different claims. I think for my first claim, it was pretty quick, but it was because I wasn't really enrolled in the VA system. So it's a lot easier when you're already enrolled in VA healthcare and stuff like that. And like I said earlier before the break, you have your PCM team, which is your doctors. You've already gotten your blood drawn, so the VA knows what's kind of going on with your body and stuff like that. And you've already done your evaluations and stuff. It's a little bit easier when you've already done all that stuff. So I hadn't done that stuff, but it was still pretty quick for me. I can't remember off the top of my head how fast it was, but I know it was within the month.
Right.
I know that for sure.
Well, hopefully I get
because I got yeah, and it just depends, man. Honestly, for example, I've been through 3 different VA healthcare facilities. I've been through Michigan's, I've been through Texas's, and I've been through Arizona's. Arizona's was kind of in the middle, as far as responsiveness and overall care. They were kind of in the middle. Texas's was, in my experience, the worst. And I don't mean they were totally god awful, you shouldn't go to them. I just feel like Texas is a haven for veterans, I feel like. And they have so many veterans to deal with that it's hard for them to get a good grasp on new people that are coming in, because you got to think new people are coming in every day.
Yeah, no, they call, from what I understand, they call San Antonio Veteran City USA or Military City USA or something like that, right? So you have, not only in the past few years has there been just such a huge influx of people coming into Texas, but San Antonio is a hub, man. And I guarantee, I just can't believe the amount of traffic there is in certain areas that never used to have traffic.
Yeah. And Michigan's was really good. I don't know why specifically. I'll tell you this. Michigan's VA was the best care that I've received at a VA, but they also take the longest to do anything.
Oof.
Than between Texas or Arizona. Like they take forever to do anything. Not to like call you and like schedule appointments, but like, you hear the horror stories of the VA where you're like, well, I need a mental health appointment, and they're like, yeah, we can book you in 4 months. Like that's Michigan's VA right now currently, but like Arizona and Texas were like, okay, well, we can get you in a couple weeks.
Right.
And you're like, okay, cool. And until you experience the couple months, you know what I mean? Like you don't understand that like the couple weeks is like, hell yeah, man. So, but for me, like I said earlier, I filed a claim. I did my intake appointment, which is called a CNP exam. CNP stands
the
for
head to toe thing?
So it's basically where whatever you claimed for the VA is going to ask you to come in, and if you claimed physical things like your back, your knees, your feet, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, right? If you claim anything physical, they're going to want you to physically come in for a CNP exam. And CNP basically means like compensation exam for disability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what the CNP exam is you come in front of a doctor. If you claim physical things, it's in person. Most of mine were in person, but sometimes like if you claim like mental things, like mental issues like anxiety, depression, stuff like that, a lot of those ones can be done over like video call, and it's just you sitting on like a Zoom call almost with a doctor.
Oh, okay.
But when you go in for your CNP exam, you're gonna sit there like every other dickhead. You're gonna wait your turn. You just got out of the military, so hurry up and wait. Should not be anything new to you.
Right.
So you're gonna wait for a little bit. They're gonna call your name. You're gonna go back. Doctor's gonna sit you down, and they're gonna start going over everything that you claimed. And most of the CNPs, well, at least all of mine specifically, were done by third-party organizations that work with the Veterans Affairs. So the doctor isn't working directly for the VA. They work for a company that works for the VA, if that makes sense.
So it's like a third-party situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So like the VA like employs these doctors to like do these exams and like to figure out like what's going on. And it's because the VA is so swamped.
Well,
and I imagine it's probably cheaper.
I kind of want to get into this a little bit with Gunner too, because it seems kind of split. Like some people like that I've heard. So some of my friends who've gone through the VA, they're like, yeah, some of the doctors were, encouraging me to say something hurts when, whatever, so I can get the maximum compensation. But then there was a lot of doctors who were just like, hey man, like that's not service related, whatever. And so I feel like some of those people don't even care about veterans. And I'd like Gunner to kind of chime in on this too, because he had an opinion about it before we started this.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit offline, and we kind of we put a pin in it because it is a scary topic. You will run into very quickly. I know, Nick, you've definitely seen this. When you're in the military, you're kind of someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are that person who took the step that the dude sitting across from you just couldn't do.
If the drill sergeant
you
gets in my
did the
face, I'm
thing.
knocking him out.
I'm knocking my drill sergeant out. He'll never get in my face. Your drill sergeant will break your chin.
Body
if you ever. He will body you if you were ever to get cross with him. And it's just because they love their job, right? So you go through your whole career, you've got a purpose, a mission, and the means to make it happen. And it feels good, right? And then you're like, hey, I need to do something else with my life, which is what I wish everybody the best with, which is getting out. But then when you get out, I learned this very quickly. I was starting to get out, and I very quickly found out, like, you don't matter much anymore. And it's not that you don't matter to us.
You don't matter to the other people in civilization, right?
Yes, your life stopped for however long you were in the military. Right.
Yeah, it's hard to remember that your life at home kept going on without you there.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a very hard thing to wrap your head around if you ever can. And so you'll do a contract or you'll do a few, and if, you're like me, I have a hard time calling parents just because I get so wrapped up in my life away from them that I'll call them every few months and be like, hey, is everything good?
Yeah.
And, the stories are, no, not really happened. And you missed this. And it's like, holy shit. Did I really miss all of this? Have I been so removed? It's not that they mean to do it. It's, are you going to be mad at someone for going on about their life when you have to do the same thing?
Well, I think
you just don't meet up anymore.
I think there's a little bit of a difference between your experience and my experience, just because I mean, not only were you in a different job, but for me personally, I got stationed in Texas. I'm from Texas, so I was only a couple of hours away from home. I got to go see my friends and family on the weekends sometimes, even then, my mom actually married an NCO from out of Fort Hood, and she started living in Gatesville with him. So she was just 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is even though my family was so close, I still didn't see them very often, and I didn't talk to them very often because I was so wrapped up in, putting all my energy into what I was doing. And then when I get home, I was so exhausted. There was points and times I would sit in the car for like 10 minutes, just trying to decompress everything throughout the day before I even went to
stare out the windshield.
Yeah, before I went to go say hi to my family that was living with me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you also, we talked about earlier, you sit there and you do your job and you get good at your job. It brings you purpose. You're happy, right?
Yeah.
And I know, Nick, you've run into this, like someone will give you that stupid task that you are not ready for, but you get it done and you are like, I got that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a sense of pride. And then all of a sudden, like, you go back home on leave and these are different people. But not even to that aspect of these people are different people. Like, when I was getting out the first time, I'd walk into these meetings and these civilians would be like, oh, you were something? Hey, go stand in line.
Yeah,
you
go
realize
stand against this wall.
Yeah, go stand against this wall for us. You realize very quickly again, you're starting.
The key word there is you were something,
Yeah.
Yes. I said that for a reason because it's scary, but it's the truth. You were something. You were this great medic, or you were this dude who could get a convoy from point A to point B. Time now. Well, hey man, you don't have a job anymore, and we're gonna need you to stand over here while we figure out your paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your name again?
Yeah. Oh, you had a name. Okay.
So
let me write that down.
With all that said, I mean, I think, you're very correct. I think it's a scary thought, because everybody wants to say, oh, we support our military and veterans, but then when it comes down to actually doing it, you don't get that support. But going back to the VA a little bit, I do want to talk about this Trump Doge thing for a little bit. So when Doge initially pointed the finger to the federal agencies that were, I guess, waste and fraud and whatever they said. And listen, I want to preface this by first saying that huge, support for Trump, huge support for Doge and everything like that. The original mission was to find duplicate bureaucracies within the United States government and to weed them out and stop all of the just restrictions on how information gets processed so that builders can build or people can do certain projects or whatever it may be, right? But then they come in and start firing everybody, right? So Trump offered them a buyout, which 3.3% or 77,000 federal workers took and resigned and took that buyout. Soon after that, people who didn't take that were getting laid off. And I think about 2,400 contributed to the VA layoffs, right?
Yeah.
And now they're talking about getting rid of another 76 to 80,000 VA employees. And it originally it was probationary workers, right? People within their first 2 years. And now it's like, hey, anybody's at risk, right? So now you have people freaking out, oh, we're losing our jobs and everything like that. And I think they said that 25% of the workforce that is in the VA are veterans, right? because
yeah, it's a lot.
we have programs like Skill Bridge, which when you're transitioning out, you can apply for internships with these agencies, and they give you marketable skills to use out in the real world. Or they'll say, you know what, we like you, we're going to retain you, and we're going to have you here. Mike,
And if you're a veteran and you apply to work for the VA, you have precedence over just some random Joe Schmo.
Right. So
even if they might be more qualified,
here's what I'm worried about. Right, so people would make the argument that the VA now is no better than it was in 2019 or 2018 when it comes to processing veterans and their care, right?
Sure.
And so the idea behind this is to make it more streamlined, save some money, whatever, right? I get that. But with the growing population of veterans who are getting out of the military, with the growing need for care providers and nurses to take care of these veterans, and with the growing need of administration behind it, would you not think that it would be better to have more people in the VA and maybe maybe target the IRS before you target the VA?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like personally, I definitely think that there should be way more VA employees, but it also really boils down to, are we looking at individual VA care facilities, or are we blanket statementing that like the VA all as a whole? You know what I mean? Because if we're looking at the VA as a whole, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that there's some waste here, I'm sure that there's some waste there, but it's to help veterans. It's not like we're teaching kids how to read in Africa. While a great cause, it's not our veterans. You know what I mean? Like, these are people that have fought and died for freedom, and for you to be able to say this and do this and talk like this and act like this. And a lot of people don't understand that too.
Right.
Is that, like, some of these people might have just done a 3-year contract and they did it for the college and they got out. But you got to understand, there's still 1% of the 1% of the population.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's still the people that joined. There's still that cook at your favorite diner that you go to. You realize, man, this dude throws down every time he's in the kitchen. But then you get to talking to him. Oh yeah, man, I served 18 years in the Marine Corps. And you're like, holy shit. You know what I mean? These are everyday people. These are your friends and family. So I mean, but if we're looking at,
I think that goes back to what Gunnar was saying, was nobody cares about veterans.
Yeah, I mean, but it's hard too, man. Like, even as a veteran, like, you get to thinking about it, and like, yeah, while I agree to the statement, like, nobody cares about veterans, then you have to look at the statement like, well, how do you care for veterans?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are we talking about like personally on like a friendship or like a family type level? Or are we talking about like a healthcare professional type level?
Or even,
because I think that the answer to that question is different.
An employment level,
Yeah, because and the thing is too, is that you have all different types of veterans. You know what I mean? You have the guy that did 3 years and got out off of one contract, and he's like, hell yeah, you know what I mean? This and that, and he like, Punisher t-shirts and stuff, which, like, no hate, right?
Grunt style,
but like,
stuff like that.
A little bit different than the dude that retired at 25 years and has been on 4 combat deployments, and, you know what I mean, has nightmares every night and wakes up in a pool of his own sweat. Like, a little bit different, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot different. But when you look at it, it really just boils down to, people complain about Doge not having oversight when clearly they're not pulling the trigger on anything. It's all Trump and his administration. But then it's like, cool, so you want less oversight in the VA taking care. I think if you're a veteran and you went through either combat deployments or non-combat deployments, or stations, or if you were in the military, if you were a veteran, I think that you should kind of be, unless you are doing something that's just so horrific,
Can you repeat what you said after you said, if you are a veteran? You cut out.
Oh shoot, I'm sorry, man. So going back to being a veteran, part of the VA or in any government agency, I think that you should have the opportunity to be protected, right? Unless you're doing something heinous or immoral or something like that. Or, if they're shutting down an entire organization, then how about you take some of those veterans that are doing, that have marketable skills, and try to offer them a chance to transition over to a different department, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
give me 1 second.
And
I gotta fix my camera real fast.
no, you're fine.
Go ahead and talk.
Do it. I mean, I definitely think that, you know, like I said, I mean, it's difficult, you know, because like, I mean, should veterans be cared for? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Should they be protected? Yeah, absolutely. But then you get to thinking about it, like I said, like how do you protect them? You know, like what do you say to them? How do you help them? You know, because like I said, not every veteran's like the same. You know, we all have our own issues, and even if we don't have issues, we all have, you know, certain things about us that are different. And you know, like you mentioned with the employment factor, you know, there's this thing that when you apply for a job, I'm sure that a lot of people have seen it, you know, where they ask if you're a veteran and you can willingly disclose that information. And when that first came about, it used to be that if you said that you were a veteran, a lot of the times it was thought to be that you would get like looked in a higher light than somebody that isn't a veteran. You know, and then, you know, nowadays me personally, I've come to find that if I disclose willingly that I'm a veteran and I get into that job, that place of employment, and I meet other veterans, obviously the veterans and I, as a veteran, we all kind of click together and kind of mob together, right? Because we all have similar stories, we all have similar kind of experience, you know, we all think kind of the same way.
Right.
But then it's like, you know, you get to like looking at like how you're treated, and it's not like we want to be treated any different, because we definitely don't. We don't want the special treatment. Like, you know, like when somebody comes up in unit, like when we're in uniform, active duty, or just in uniform in general, and somebody comes up and says, "Thank you for your service." Like a lot of us don't know how to respond.
I just say
like
thanks
I
for
just
paying your
followed.
taxes.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I just always responded with "Thank you for your support," but it's because I didn't know what to say, and a lot of times I get caught off guard. You know, if
Yeah.
I'm with my buddy and we're out at lunch and we go through the Sonic drive-through and they're like, "Oh, thank you for your service," I'm like, "Well, what?" You know, like I don't know what to say, because it's weird, because it's not like, you know, like to me, I did this because my family did this, and because this is just something that I wanted to do. You know, but for other people, it might be for a different reason. But you know, like I said, we don't want the special treatment.
Right.
But then like you kind of get special treatment sometimes at jobs, like, well, he's a veteran, yada yada yada. But like it's weird, because like the special treatment a lot of the times that we do get is this type of special treatment that we don't want. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we don't want to get looked at, you know, we don't want to get looked at for a promotion, like just because we're a veteran. You know what I mean? Excuse me, just because we're a veteran. You know, we want to be looked at for that promotion because our performance is good, our numbers are good, because we're a veteran.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, but we want that promotion not because we're a veteran. We want that promotion because we're doing good. You know.
Right.
But a lot of the times the type of treatment that we want but don't get is, you know, to be excused for a VA appointment that's really, really important. A VA appointment that we've waited 6 months for.
Yeah.
You know, like I've had experiences where I've waited 6 months for an appointment, 8 months for an appointment for a certain C&P exam for compensation for disability.
Yeah.
And my job's like, "Hey man, we need you on the register." And me personally, in my mind, I'm like, "Fuck that register." You know what I mean? Honestly, this is a big corporation. I could care less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like most people come in, clock in, and take a 45-minute shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm in here doing my job. Like the least that you can do is give me an hour to go sit in my car and talk with this doctor that I already don't want to talk to.
Yeah.
About things that I don't want to talk about.
Hey Nick, I'm really sorry to do this to you. We're gonna have to take a quick break. I'm having a little bit of
No, go for it.
I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties on this end. So we'll be right back. We'll get back into it. And we may even have 2 extra guests on the show, to include my mom and acetaminophen.
Oh yeah.
So we'll be right back. All right, all right. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Sorry, we were having some technical difficulties. We had my mom on for a second, and then she left for some reason. So I don't know what's going on there. But in the meantime, we're going to get back to Nick and Gunner. So, Nick, if you want to go ahead and continue on what you were discussing before the break, I'm going to get up and move around. So I'm going to turn off my camera here. But for those of you that are still with us, you guys can listen in on some valuable information.
Yeah, so I just want to get back to what we were talking about with like veterans and like current employment and stuff like that. But just before we got to that, I just wanted to bring up, if you are a veteran and you are struggling with things that are going on with your life and things aren't going right and you need somebody to talk to, just please call the Veterans Crisis Line. Just dial 988 and then press 1. And just so you can hear it again, that's 988 and just press 1. That's all you got to do.
Nice.
But back to what we were talking about with like veterans and current employment. As I was saying before, a lot of the times the special treatment that we want but don't get is, if we have a VA appointment or we have to be excused from work to be able to go to these appointments and to do these things. And, a lot of people in the civilian world that are employers, that are managers, or, are leadership in the civilian workforce, that like a lot of times they don't understand that, like, they think that, oh man, this guy has to go to another appointment. Like, how many appointments can this guy have in 1 month?
And those are
mandatory.
see, like, the
behind the
those
scenes.
are mandatory. You have to go.
Yeah,
and they have to work with you to be able to do that.
Yeah, and like they don't understand that A, they are mandatory. B, I can only miss so many appointments until the VA totally and completely drops their services, and I have to apply to have them reinstated. But a lot of the times they don't see the behind the scenes. Like they don't understand that, like, I've waited 6 months for this appointment.
Right.
I don't even want to have this appointment right now because A, I'm at work. B, I feel like shit. And I feel like shit because we're going to talk about some things that I don't want to talk about. We're going to talk about things that I've put in the back of my mind for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. You know what I mean? These are things that I hope to have to never talk about. But if I want to be cared for properly, I have to talk about them. And a lot of us civilian employers, they don't understand that it's like, like I said, they see, man, like this guy's had like 6 appointments this month. But every single one of those appointments might have been them going through extreme emotional pain, or them going through extreme physical pain to like walk in front of a doctor because they can't walk properly, because like they had their leg amputated in an IED blast in Afghanistan or something like that. Like a lot of people don't understand that. Like physical injuries are one thing because a lot of times you can see them, but mental injuries are a totally different thing, like, and it's weird too, a lot of times, like, you get a group of veterans together, like eventually at some point in time, like, the good memories of being in the service, like, come up, they start talking about their buddy, they start talking about, their wife and their kids and, oh man, I remember when so-and-so did this on deployment and yada, yada, yada. I remember when so-and-so did this at the barracks and he, ha, ha,
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's obviously good times, but it's just like a lot of the times the negative times in the military sometimes outweigh the bad times. And that's why, like I said, if you're a veteran and you're struggling with stuff, or even if you're active duty and, you might not want to go with your chain of command. I mean, obviously I recommend you go with your chain of command. But if you're about to get out, you're within that 90-day window and you need somebody to talk to and you don't want to go to behavioral health, because believe me, I get it. Like I said, just call the Veterans Crisis Line. It's 988. Just press 1. You know what I mean? You'll be a lot better off than you were, and at the very least, you'll have somebody to talk to about what's going on.
For a few minutes right before I was about to introduce you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the other thing, Nick, is like people don't, like you hit earlier. We don't get the information anymore. When did you get all this information? Did you have to struggle for it, or was someone there to tell you, hey, do this?
No, I mean, fortunately, I had a pretty good friend group. Like, I had already kind of like, through like playing video games and stuff like that, and like talking with people on the internet, and through Carter, the guy that we were talking about earlier. Shout out Carter, love you. Um, I had started to figure out kind of like what I needed to do. Like, a hey, do this, a hey, do that here and there goes a long way, especially when you have no guidance when getting out. Like getting out for me, it was terrifying, because I was hearing like, like the civilian world sucks. Like you're not going to be able to do anything because you don't have any skills and yada, yada, yada. And if you have skills, it's a little bit different, right? Like, that like, there's pretty good probability that you can get a job doing with what you're qualified for. But I mean, if you just do a 3-4 year long contract and you don't have any skills getting out that could be applicable in the civilian world, I mean, a lot of times soldiers look through it like the transition process and they go at a certain point or another, they go, I'm fucked. Like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to support my wife and kids?
Well, I think
how am I going to
a
support
lot
myself?
of it boils down to they're just uneducated. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, and let me put that into perspective. It's like it's like I said earlier, the tasks that we do every day seem just profoundly mundane and just,
and monotonous.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you go to put those things on an application, especially if you have somebody who's able to help you translate your military experience into what, would be known as civilian verbiage, right? It looks incredible. And they just
it really
need
does.
that mentorship. They need that help to be able to translate that stuff. And even when you have that stuff translated, people are still going to look at you and be like, nah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like for example, I can put down, that I was a senior bus driver in the military, but under the job description, I can put, senior bus driver in the military, consistently and efficiently transported personnel from point A to point B without any issues, managed vehicles in excess of, however many US dollars, all this type of stuff I can put for that.
Right. So right now you said you're in Fort Couch. What does or has employment looked like for you, and are you interested in getting back into the workforce?
I mean, it's been pretty rough. I mean, like I said, like I've been out for, a good couple years now. I've had a few jobs here and there, but it's very hard for me to like integrate myself back into civilian life. A lot of times I find myself saying the wrong things. It's not necessarily that I do the wrong things, it's that I say the wrong things, like stuff that would be funny to us as military members, like, and we hee hee ha ha about, you know what I mean? You get wrote up for that shit in the civilian world, like,
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely get
it's yeah, it's difficult, man. I mean, it sucks. Like you don't go to work and understand that these are your brothers and that you die for these people. You go to work and you're like, man, there goes Jack, man. Fuck that dude. You know what I mean? Like, but like sometimes you say that out loud. You know what I mean? Because like in the military, you'd be like, hey, fuck you, man. They'd be like, fuck you too. But like you love, like that's some of the stuff that you miss. Like you miss the brotherhood. Like you miss showing up to the barracks and like not getting along with somebody at work, and then you go to a barracks party and there they are. You guys get to chitting, chatting, and you realize you fall in love with this dude. You know what I mean? Like this dude's my best friend now. We go everywhere together. We get lunch all the time. And like you don't get that a lot of times in the civilian world, especially with jobs, and people just don't understand. Like they, a lot of civilians, I feel like, they're just here because, they hate their life and they need money to be able to survive, but like I'm not here because I need money to survive. I'm here because I need to find a purpose. You know what I mean? Because I left the military and my purpose was stripped from me, not that I was like forcibly kicked out of the military or anything like that. It's just that, when you're in the military, like we said before, you have a purpose, right? And when you get out, you start to lose sight of that purpose because you're not doing that anymore. So when you get into the civilian world and you realize that like, the things that you worried about in the military were so precise and so, I don't want to say exaggerated because they're not exaggerated, but everything has a purpose in the military. You walk this way for a reason. You talk this way for a reason. You know what I mean? You do this for a reason. You do that for a reason. Then you get into the civilian world. There's no discipline anywhere. There's no camaraderie anywhere. There's no brotherhood to be found. Like you see coworkers like talking bad about other coworkers, and you're like, man, I don't even want to be a part of this. So a lot of it becomes a big turnoff to veterans.
Right. Man, it's so funny too, because it's like, especially given the political climate of the last 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
in the military, of course, you get to joke about it because um
You're like, that's our boss. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you get to joke about it or whatever. But then you get into the civilian world and then you get fired for joking about something like that. And it's like, whoa.
Oh yeah,
Like,
dude.
what the fuck? I mean, I get it if it's like something that's really bad, like
Yeah, like if you say something heinous in the office,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
um I talked about a little bit earlier, like, hey, try to refrain from being racist, try to refrain from telling specific kinds of jokes and stuff like that. And, it's like, that's understandable, shit like that. Right. But then,
yeah,
you joke around like, hey, bro, word around the office is you
like,
got a
hey,
nice cock.
yeah, like, yeah, or like, you say something political, like you're in the office and like you think that like you're telling like a funny joke. And you're like, hey, did you see Joe Biden fight for his life trying to come up with a coherent sentence? And people are like, you know what I mean? And the next thing you know, you're sitting in front of HR, did, and you have no idea. They're like, you know why you're here? You're like, I have no idea. And they're like, get out. You know what I mean? You're like, okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. I actually want to take this time. I know in the past like 15 minutes I've been putting the be right back sign on. I've been stepping away from the computer. I have been having some technical difficulties and I'm trying to get a couple of more guests on the show, and it's just not really working out for me right now. If you're still with us after an hour and 44 minutes, man, I really do appreciate it. But
we'll kiss you on the mouth.
yeah. Ooh. See, that's the kind of shit that'll get you fired in a civilian job.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you say that in the workplace, you going home, man.
but you say it to me, somebody who knows it, and I'm like, ooh, say that again.
Yeah, we're like, oh shit.
No, actually, I just got done watching a video. It was so funny. It was Chris Pratt and what's that chick's name who was on Parks and Rec with him?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah. So she smacked him on the face, and he was like, "Oh, do that again." And so she like smacked him.
Shit.
She smacked him again, and he like had to bend down. He's like, "Oh my god!" And she's like, "Do you have a boner right now?" He's like, "Yeah, nobody's ever slapped me like that before."
He said, "Yes, ma'am."
And it was just a really funny blooper, but like, hey man, she could slap me too.
Yeah, she could choke me. No.
Also, I did tell Crystal that you said hi, and she says hi's back. She's not feeling too well right now, but she says hi to she says hi to the both of you guys.
Oh yeah. Tell her I said I hope she gets better soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna let you continue. I'm sorry I cut you off there. I am gonna put the be right back on sign again, just because I still need to fix a couple more things before we get into the finishing notes of the show. We are gonna transition into motorcycles here soon. With that said, go on, Nick.
Oh, Gunnar, I wanted to talk with you about I want to get on the topic of like how scary it was for you at like while you were about to get out and realizing kind of just like how scary of a situation that is. Like what were your experiences? Did you have any leadership be like, hey man, shit ain't sweet out there, and you're like, oh my god, like what was how'd that go for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think you were actually living with me at that time, weren't you, Nick?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
during part of it at least.
Yeah, part of it. I think my first sergeant and my sergeant major, my command sergeant major, I think they're the only. Did you have a plan? Me being an idiot. Yeah, I had a plan. I got a plan, but when you get out of the military, it became very apparent. I know you saw it in just my everyday stress levels. Like if you don't have like 2 and 3, maybe 4 and 5 plans, you're not going to succeed. And that was very apparent because obviously I came back in. I re-enlisted for 2 years, and now I just re-enlisted for 6 more.
Yeah, you went to go get out, and you went, oh, and got back in.
Yeah, it was very much so a type situation, And I mean, that's fine, but it was terrifying because you don't know, like, you're like, okay, well, I'm married now. Am I going to be married Am I going to have
Yeah.
the support? Or then you're like, okay, I'm so goddamn far away. Do I even want to start a job here?
Yeah, I remember you called me one day and you were like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about getting out. Can you kind of tell me what getting out feels like?" And I was like, "Oh dude, it's terrible."
Yeah,
And you were like, "What
your
do you
advice
mean?"
is terrible. And I'm like, fuck, okay.
Yeah, I was like, "Dude, it sucks. It's miserable. Like you miss your
I was like,
friends, you miss the homies. You can't
I'm
kiss them on the
sitting
mouth
there.
to go sleep."
Yeah, no, just walking into the barracks and be like, good night.
Yeah, good night.
You get like the corner of the tongue and you're like, oh, night.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, I'll be back to wake you up.
yeah, don't worry, I'll wake you up with a beer and a hand job. Anyway,
Yo,
probably a joke. But I was sitting there and there was just an overall sense of fear. There's nothing else to say. Fear and dread. Like, am I going to be able to do this? Because it didn't matter. You and me both had jobs before we were in the military,
Yeah.
but there was never I can leave this job and go get another one. Fuck this job. And you
Yeah.
knew that shit would be all right. But you leave the military, you're so indoctrinated into the, are you going to be okay? Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, and you get asked that so many times, and then like you go into it and you're like, "No, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine." And then you get asked, "Are you gonna be okay? Do you have a plan?" You can only be asked that so many times before you start second guessing yourself, and then you're like, "Am I
Mhm.
about to shit the bed?"
Like, am I really okay?
Yeah, royally.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's fucking terrifying. You are not wrong. It's like, it sucks. Okay, so like they gave me my time. I cleared my unit and my post, and then I went on leave. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. But then you sit there and you look at your pay stubs, and that was, I think, my biggest awakening is like, I'm making a lot of money. Is it really that bad? You know what I mean? That was kind of just rattling around in my head like, I can run.
yeah. That's
I
your
can get
first
up.
taste. That's your first
Yeah.
taste of freedom.
Yeah, and I didn't like it.
Well,
I liked not showing up to work and collecting that fucking paycheck, but what I really didn't like was, it's about to end, big dog.
yeah.
That and like nobody texts you, nobody calls you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
they
you stop
took me out of
existing.
they took me out of my group chats, and I was like, okay.
Well, what's
let
really
me text my buddy.
what was really funny for me, okay, is at Port Jackson, I actually got used to not being contacted at all. So
Really?
yeah, so we had it set up for the ammunition
That
specialist.
must be a crazy feeling.
It was because this began back in so I got there in August. And of course I was in contact with my leadership. However, when I first got there, the in-processing station didn't even know I was coming. Like nobody knew I was
Really?
coming. Yeah, nobody, right? And so I
Oh
didn't
man, it sounds
perfect.
like the
I
army.
didn't have a
So
sponsor. I didn't have anybody to show me around. I didn't have anybody to help me, process in stuff like that. I had to figure it all out, right? So I think I spent like a week or two doing the in-processing stuff before I got to my company, and my company was like, "Who the hell are you?"
well, and you said that you drove there, right? So you had your POV,
Yeah.
like your vehicle.
Yeah. So I figured it out. I was able to get around and everything. And once I integrated into my organization, they were like, okay, cool. You're going to the ASP now, which is the ammunition supply point, right? And so that's where I worked. And what we would do is we would take the ammunition out to training sites so that all the new incoming soldiers who were going through basic training could get trained up on their weapon systems. And then we would go and collect whatever was left over at the end, right? Like residue, stuff like that. Any leftover live ammunition, and then we'd take it back to the warehouse and store it and separate it properly.
Yeah.
Now-
No brass, no ammo, drill stunt.
Yeah.
What's this jingling in your pocket, dumbass?
So the schedule was kind of weird for us, right? Sometimes we'd only work like 2 days at a time. And it was like,
That's crazy.
Yeah, no. So if you were on the morning shift, you'd go in at like 6 a.m. and you'd be done by 1 p.m. And then if you were, and then if you were afternoon shift, you went in at 1 and then you were done by the time the last range called and said, "Hey, we're ready for ammo pickup," which was actually a really volatile thing because there would be weather anomalies like thunderstorms. The ranges would have to shut down until the thunder was out of a specific mile radius, and then they'd be like, "Okay, cool,
Yeah.
whatever it may be." And so sometimes you'd have people there until like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting to be let
Yeah.
go. So you were, 12 hours effectively. When you were in the morning shift, though, you're pretty solid. You're like 6 in the morning to 1 o'clock, I'm going home. And then I only have to do that twice in a week. And then I don't have to show up to formation anytime after that because I'm attached to the ASP now. So
Were you ever like at the beginning, like the first day, were you ever like morning shift, and then the second day you were night shift?
So no. What we would do is 1 week we would be morning shift. And we had like
Oh, okay, and then you'd rotate.
we'd have like 3 or 4 teams. No, 2 or 3 teams, I think. And it would be 1 week you did morning, the next week you did afternoon, and then the third week all you had to do was show up to morning formation at the company and then peace out, So
Shit.
it was wild. But hey guys, we finally got my madre with us. She's going to grace us with her presence.
Hooray.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding her to the screen now. Give me 1 second. Boom. Hey, Madre, how's it going?
There we are. Hi.
Hey. Okay,
yeah,
so
it was hotel difficulties with the internet.
No, you're good. You're good. Hey, we are in a recording right now. I have my buddy Nick and I have my buddy Gunner with us. We're already almost 2 hours into the recording. So seems like you're having a little bit of a difficulty keeping a connection. So I'm going to go ahead and remove you from the screen real fast. And then if I get any update from you, we'll bring you back on. Now, with all that said,
Just so you know, sorry to cut in real quick. Just so you know, when she's talking, we can't hear her, so you'll have to let us know, like if she, if you want us to respond to something when she's done.
Ooh, that's actually a really good point because you are on the Discord. Damn.
I mean, you could just let us know whenever she's done.
Yeah, sure. Give us a second because I think her husband's also joining the stream now as well. But yeah, so like I was saying before, it was 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and all we had to do on that third week was just show up to morning formation, like our quote unquote PT formation, right? And they would just be like, "Okay, cool, peace out, do PT on your own, bye."
Yeah, so you're like, I'm going to the house.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna do them lateral lay down.
Of course, man.
Yeah. Oh, reliable right there, the lateral lay down.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It be something else,
So I'm hoping that, because I know we're on Discord and you guys aren't actually in the studio, which kind of stinks, but I'm hoping that my guests can hear you. And I know you said that you couldn't hear them, but right now we have, it looks like Bill is, or acetaminophen, as you guys know him. It looks like he's trying to come in, but I can't see him on video, and I haven't heard him yet. So, and then my mom, she actually got kicked from the stream or from the studio because she's got a really terrible internet connection at her hotel right now.
Oh, okay. Where's old Ma at?
She's in San Antonio right now. She goes down there for a few days every month or so to consult with her doctor and her physicians and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was kind of glorious being able to not have to go into work for a whole week and actually do anything. But then, I had a lot of free time. I got my motorcycle, and I've been riding motorcycles for about how long has it been? I started when I was 19. I'm 33 now. So it's been quite a while. I don't feel like doing the math right now. But anyway, so May 1st, I got into a motorcycle accident, which resulted in less than lethal injury, which is good. Hey, Mom, give me 1 second. I'm going over some details about my motorcycle accident, and I'll come back on and I'll reintroduce you, okay?
Okay, sounds good. I'm listening.
Okay. So, anyway, I went on convalescent leave. I was about 30 days, and then I came off of convalescent leave, and then nobody expected me to be anywhere. So essentially, from May 1st all the way until December, I didn't even have to do anything ever again in the Army, and people stopped calling me, and people stopped looking for me.
Must have been beautiful.
Oh, it kind of was. It was kind of depressing at first because, you know, like I really enjoyed being able to talk to friends and family and everything like that, and go out with friends and stuff like that. So whenever I had my accident, you know, because I mean, bike nights, you know, were the big thing. That was like, you know, you'd ride your motorcycle out and you'd fucking you know, go hang out with all your buddies and stuff. And whenever I was laid up and I had my foot up, I couldn't do anything. So people would sometimes come to me, and then it gradually just dissipated. And it was like, oh man, what the fuck? But
yeah,
hey,
and like you couldn't go scoot either. So like you're like, fuck.
oh yeah, I know. So hey man, we're coming up on 2 hours now. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce my mother. Mom, could you do me a favor and tell us your name and what your affiliation with the military is, and tell us where you are or reside.
Okay, well, my name is Angel. I am a veteran. My MLS was 91 Juliet, which is a physical therapist in the military. I was also trained 91 Alpha, which is a medic. As of now, I am in San Antonio in a cozy hotel room, but I do reside at Fort Cavazos, which is actually Fort Hood. Hopefully, Trump will change the name back.
We had a whole argument earlier about, well, not argument, but we were all like, you know, hey, you know, Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos, man, we all know what's up.
Yeah, well, I
we all
heard
know what's
Benning
up.
and Bragg got their names back, so hopefully, but yes, I do.
I don't think they're going to change.
I
don't think they're going to change the name of Fort Cavazos back to Fort Hood just because it is Hispanic general, right? I think that Texas is going to want to keep that. So you know, I don't agree with the change, but I think it is what it is. So right now we're just going over.
Nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, we're actually.
Anyway, just to finish off the questions that you had asked me, I do reside in Fort Cavazos. My husband is set to retire this summer, and that's just about it about me.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, my mom was saying for Nick and Gunner, because they can't hear you right now because we're all connected via Discord. So I had to do a little bit of magic to get their audio uploaded onto here. So Gunner, Nick, if you could just say hi.
Hi, Bill.
How's it going? I think Gunnar stepped away from the mic for a second.
Oh, okay.
I'm back.
Oh, hey, just
don't worry, I just got back.
Just so that I can confirm, Mom, Phil, can you hear them?
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Phil. Hey, nice to have you here. You want to do me a favor?
Nice to be here.
And so, first and foremost, state your name, state your affiliation with the military, and where do you reside?
Okay. Let's see. My name is Phil. And I'm an alcoholic.
Come on, man. I need your name, your affiliation with the military, and where you reside.
No, I'm about 5 months out from retirement.
With the United States Army?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I've done that shit for way too fucking long now. I reside in the great state of Texas.
All right. Okay, so I want to get to some statistics here. You know, so going into the motorcycles, right? Because we were just on that topic with Gunner and Nick, and you know, it's kind of a crazy thing to do, especially so. I think California, Florida, and Texas are some of the most dangerous places to ride, right? And
Holy hell.
you good over there, man?
I don't know what the hell that was. You said California, I started dying.
Yeah. Yep. So I want to say in 2022 there was an estimated 42,000 people who were killed in traffic accidents. Motorcycle crash.
Is that nationwide?
Yeah. So it says motorcycle crashes accounted for 6,218, or about 15% of the fatalities, despite the fact that motorcycles made up only 3% of registered vehicles in the U.S. And that was in 2022. So when you really put it in perspective, you're riding a dangerous machine. I think, however, a lot of the numbers here were inflated because more people started owning them. And it wasn't really like, hey, motorcycles are the most dangerous thing you could ride because look at the statistics. It was like, well, the numbers only went up because more people owned them. And that's not to discount
but
the fact.
motorcycles aren't dangerous. It's the people, the cagers around them that just don't freaking pay attention.
Well, it's not that it's not just that they don't pay
dangerous.
attention. There are people who intentionally dislike motorcyclists and will go out of their way to hurt them or harm them.
I've had instances like that.
Yeah, it's literally attempted murder. And so when you really put it into perspective, the man who's riding or the woman who's riding and they decide to either conceal carry or open carry and protect themselves because somebody, one of those cages is trying to take them down and then they kill them, who's really at fault, Yeah. So, I'm just saying the reason why I was getting to that stuff is simply because it's like, people want to talk about how dangerous it is to ride motorcycles and that we must be crazy to want to ride them. But at the end of the day, it's like, look at what people are doing. I could pull up multiple videos of people, intentionally going out of their way to harm another person who's on two wheels.
Yeah, running people off the road.
Therapy, man.
Yeah. So, Nick, how long have you been riding?
Well, I started riding dirt bikes at not like a super young age, but my uncle had an old dirt bike. I think it was a 1980 Kawasaki Trail 125, I think.
Nice.
But so I rode that around a couple times. I putzed around on it a little bit. And then I didn't really touch motorcycles for like years and years and years. And I bought my first Harley from a guy in my unit that was PCSing or going to a different duty station. And that was 2019. So I've been riding for 6 years now.
Oh, nice. And you still got the old Glide, don't you?
Oh yeah, I got the old Road Glide.
Yeah. And so Phil, have you been really around the motorcycle riding scene, or have you been interested or anything like that? Like what are your thoughts on motorcycles?
Okay, so I grew up, my dad was a biker. So, eventually it's in the blood. Definitely want one. But I've always been around bases where, the people that are driving around there that just don't pay attention.
Like
and so, bases? Yeah. A lot of my buddies have ended up getting killed because people are really fucking stupid when it comes to looking out for, motorcyclists.
Right.
Well, your dad used to rebuild bikes and stuff, right?
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy. My father used to own a motorcycle and got into an accident. And then after that, he kind of swore off them. And he's like, those are dangerous machines and everything. When he first found out when I was 19 years old that I was learning how to ride motorcycles and zooming around on that, he was so pissed off at me. He was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't do that. And it's so dangerous. And yada, yada, yada.
I remember when you borrowed Ryan's bike for a while, scared me to death.
Yeah. I was riding around on Ryan's bike for a little while as well.
He had a crotch rocket.
Yeah, dude. So that was a Kawasaki Ninja. I was going everywhere on that thing, and I really shouldn't have. But but anyway, then when I purchased my Harley in 2024, yeah, at the beginning of the year, my dad was just like, "Hey man, like just please be careful." You know, he went
We
from
all
screaming
were.
at me about it. He went from screaming at me about it to just be careful. And then unfortunately, in May 1st, the accident happened, which I am thoroughly trying to get that lawsuit handled and taken care of, because I think the insurance company has a year before they have to pay me like they're required. And so they're just dragging
And it
their
was
feet. The insurance
clearly
is
her
just
fault.
dragging their feet, you know, but my lawyer's doing a really good job at taking care of the lawsuit. So kudos to him. But you know, I am going to start riding again. You know, once I get this settlement done, taking care of my debts, get into a house, do what I got to do, I'm getting a bike.
Yeah. Good for you. Get back on that horse.
What about you, Gunner? Is he still away?
I don't know. Yeah, I think he stepped away again.
Oh, okay. So, are you still paying on your bike, Nick?
Oh yeah, baby. It's a 2020 Road Glide. I'm definitely still paying on it.
You're gonna be paying on that for a while.
Well, I kind of go back to the benefits from the VA. You know, all the process that you had to go through, the long and lengthy process that it is to go through the VA. If you don't mind telling the audience what your rating was at the end of the day, we would love to hear that.
Eventually, I ended up coming out to be 100% TNP, which means total and permanent. So you can get there's two types of 100% disability ratings. There's 100%, which means that you're 100% disability, but every year you have to go back and get reevaluated, and they can lower your disability rating at any point in time. And then there's 100% TNP or PNT. You know, it can be interchangeable, but it's total and permanent,
Right.
which means you don't get reevaluated. So I'm 100% TNP.
Oh, nice. That must feel real
Okay,
good.
hang on real quick. I'm taking notes on this because we're dealing with disability issues as well. So there's two types.
So
right?
Madre, unfortunately, you guys came in a little bit late. Once
Okay.
this whole video is 2 hours and 10 minutes so far. And we're actually coming up. We're coming up on a close, but I will be uploading this to like YouTube and stuff like that, and hopefully, hopefully you guys can refer back to it, because there was a lot of valuable information like an hour into it regarding the VA and stuff like that, steps that Nick had to go through to be evaluated and everything. So I mean, if you want to take notes, fine, but you know, you could always refer back to the beginning of the video.
Well, just send me the link to the YouTube video, and I'll go back and watch it in its entirety. Again, I apologize for being ridiculously late to the show.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Actually, right now I'm just, you know, we're already past all the notes, so we're just having a conversation now, you know. So
okay,
but
just send me the link, and I'll go back and listen to it all.
Sure. And I know this wasn't really a topic that we had discussed going into the video, Nick. But as I understand it, you have a YouTube channel dedicated to your video game streams, don't you?
Yeah, it's sorry, taking a big old bite of chicken here.
No, I want chicken, darn it.
Yeah, no, chicken does sound good, but I think tonight pizza's on the menu.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I cut out for a second. Yeah, I do. The channel is called Ready or Not Gaming, and not is spelled KNOT, like a bowline knot. Right now I only have Silent Hill 2 uploaded, the remake. I ended up having to take a pause on the YouTube, but I'm still going to be streaming on Twitch. Same name, Ready or Not Gaming.
Okay.
I just have to find another way to be able to edit some more videos. Hopefully soon I'll be able to have all of my gameplay from A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead to be able to be uploaded to YouTube.
Is this channel going to be
I think
dedicated?
Quinny would be really interested in that.
Yeah, my little sister might. But is this channel going to be dedicated to like a specific genre of gaming, or is it just like in general what you're playing at the time kind of thing?
Right now it's kind of like horror. like horror games, like like I said, Silent Hill 2's up there, and then I have the footage for A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead. Eventually, I'd like to be able to get a PC so I can play some more horror games. Like I'm a big fan of survival horror, like Alien Isolation, Soma, stuff like that.
Okay.
But we'll also probably be doing some multiplayer content, maybe some Dead by Daylight, maybe some Battlefield, if we feel up to it. It just depends.
Okay. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to figure something out to have you on the show, and visibly be able to see you and interact with you. I'd love to have you on the show again, regarding any other topics that we decide to go. Again, mostly what I wanted to cover is stuff like current events, hobbies, life, stuff like that. So I think it'd be good in the future, especially if I can get my if I can get a co-host or something like that, to regularly be able to put out content.
I volunteer as tribute.
Well, I'm still vetting people. It's almost like a job application where you're not going to make any money. This is kind of this is
like a shitty internship.
Yeah, man, this is definitely going to be more of a leisure
Hey, it's
time
gonna look
thing.
good on my resume. Damn it! I don't care if I get paid or not.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think here shortly we'll be ending the show. I don't really have a whole lot more topics to discuss tonight, but I do think moving forward in the future, it'd be nice to be able to put out stuff, once a week and have good conversations and good information being put out. But with that said, I do want to get Phil's opinion on whether or not he'd tune into your channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, unfortunately, he can't hear you say yes, but yeah. So today's guests unfortunately weren't really in a position to be able to log into the StreamYard stream. And so I'm listening to them via Discord. That's why I'm sharing my screen so that you can have the audio for that. But when you guys talk to me, they can't hear it.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah. But I am going to go ahead and say goodbye to Nick. I'm going to go ahead and have a conversation. I'm going to go ahead and have a conversation with my mom and Phil for a little bit before I totally end things here. I really do appreciate you tuning in and being a part of it, and hopefully we get a lot of views.
Yeah, no, I heard that, man. It was a pleasure to be on. Hopefully you'd like to have me on sometime in the future. I'd be more than happy to. Yeah,
dude, definitely. I really love conversing with you. It's always fun. It's always a fun back and forth with you. But all right, man, you guys, you and Gunner, take it easy. I don't know where Gunner is. He must have.
I'm here now.
Oh, you are. Okay, well, Gunner.
My bad. I had to take the dog out. She was giving me them eyes,
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm about to piss on this floor right here. Like,
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna take you off the stream here in a minute. I just wanted to say bye, and if you guys had any closing statements, you're more than welcome to make them now.
No, man, I really thank you for having us. It's not a lot that we get to do this and try to push out information. So I think that's awesome what this is doing.
Well, I would love to go more in depth on some of this stuff, because we did touch on a lot of the key points of going through the transitioning process and what it's like for military members and active duty service and stuff like that. I would love to be able to, at one point or another, go more in depth into a lot of those things, especially the butthole stuff.
It's just one knuckle.
Yeah, the fattest knuckle I've ever seen.
The fattest knuckle on a white man I've ever seen, and it just had to be him.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Nick, do you have anything to say before going?
The only thing I got is, it's been mentioned before. If you're a veteran out there and you're struggling with some stuff, go ahead and reach out to somebody, man.
Yeah, especially
not everybody has to go through what they're working through alone.
Yeah,
the veteran crisis line is 988. Press 1, baby.
I think especially prior friends, even if they're not in the same state, just give them a call, man. Just give them a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being here. I'm going to take you off now, and then I'm going to log out from the Discord server. And then
All right, man.
and then I'll be continuing the
Yeah,
conversation. If you guys want to tune in for the conversation I'm about to have, it's going to be very short, but I'll be uploading it to YouTube. I'll send you all the links.
Okay, for sure.
All right. Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys. Thanks, guys. I appreciate
right.
everything.
All right, talk to you.
All right. Okay. Awesome. How we doing, guys?
Good.
I'm sorry. I'm just so upset at the technical difficulties I had. And it wasn't even your link. It was the damn hotel that every day at a certain time it kicks you off and you have to try to log back in. But since Hilton took over Comfort Inn, everything changed. So now you have to enter passwords and email addresses and this and that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
need
No,
to
I
be
get that.
fucking hard. So I finally had to go down to the front desk and like log me in.
Yeah, so I was trying to get you guys on a lot earlier, because we were going over some really fantastic talking points. We were talking about the processes to get into the military. We were talking about how nobody really cares about veterans
I
because you
didn't
were
realize we
somebody.
had started an hour and a half before I even got on. I was like, hey, I can't be on until 7. I thought, okay, maybe everybody will start at 7.
Well, I was trying to get it. I was trying to get it started before it got dark, realistically, and I had already been in conversations with Nick, and he last minute. Funny enough, Gunner, who was a part of it. I think Phil, you might have met Gunner.
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
but
good dude.
He just happened to be in a gaming party with Nick, and he was like, "Well, hey man, if we do this, you want to have Gunner on too?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! What the hell?" And he provided a lot of valuable insights for like life of a medic and stuff like that. Just really good guy. Love him to death. We also kind of mentioned Carter, my buddy Carter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Carter.
Yeah, so I only know those guys because of Carter.
Okay, how
Yeah.
is Carter?
Well, I don't know. I was supposed to go to Dallas and talk to Carter or hang out with Carter this weekend.
Is he still doing his band?
I can't really. I know that they ran into a little bit of turmoil within the band. I can't really speak on what's going
sad.
on. I know that they recently had to cancel a tour that they were about to happen upon. But I talked to him last week, and we had planned for me to go up to Dallas and see him and hang out and catch up. And I was going to be up there for about 3 days, but I tried calling him earlier on in the week, and he wasn't answering. And I texted him, called him a few times, like, "Hey, shoot me your address so I can get a hotel near you," stuff like that. And I haven't heard anything back.
Oh God, I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. He just gets caught up in life and doing what he's doing. And 9 times out of 10, if he's feeling some type of way, he'll reach out to me and he'll be like, "Hey man, I'm going through it,"
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah, I know he was going through it when he ETS'd out too. So
yeah. So going back to it, you said, Phil, how long until you retire?
About 5 months, maybe
5
a little
months.
bit less now. Yeah.
And real quick, before we kind of wrap this up, because one of the big talking points was life in active duty.
Okay.
And so Gunnar went over his experience. Nick went over a little bit of his experience. What has the experience been for you in your 20 years now, right?
Yeah. So
21.
with mine, I think we would need at least another hour to go through all of my.
I don't want to
but-
dig into every specific topic, but just if you can give like kind of a general blanket of information.
I mean, I hate to be the one to say it, but it is true. It is what you make it. So best of luck to the next person in line that's thinking about doing this, uh, it's not easy at all. But if you can stay with it, then you can make something out of it.
Yeah, and can you just tell us what like some of the places you've been stationed at and some of the
Yeah.
differences in leadership and stuff like that?
So I think I can count on maybe both hands the amount of good leadership I actually had, as sad as that sounds. But no, I've been to Fort Bragg, Fort Hood twice, been to Korea, Honduras, Iraq, Afghanistan, over to Kansas, Alabama, Kentucky. I've been to a lot of different places. They haven't all been that grand. Of course, when you do something like this, you want to go to like Germany or Hawaii or someplace like that, someplace that you can either have it going. Yeah, someplace that you can either have it going nice.
Hey Phil, I'd love for you to keep continuing. I unfortunately have to step away from the computer right now. I do have my headphones, so I am listening.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, either you want a place that you can go that has a lot of history to it, and someplace that you can go from place to place to place. That's what Germany is. It doesn't take anything to go to France, to go to Denmark, go to all these different places that are around Germany. All you got to do is hop on the E train and go. That's really easy. But no, I just didn't have that luxury. So
I'm here. I'm just taking a sec.
no. That's okay.
I didn't want to take you all in here with me. I think Julian's going to be pretty successful with this show if he keeps it up.
No, I'm
well,
sure
I
he
hope
will.
so. I think starting small is the goal. I'm not getting paid for this. None of my guests are getting paid right now, and it's just a matter of viewership and finding where we line up in the future. And right now this is for fun, and right now this is just
absolutely.
But it's also something that you don't want to just be like, oh, hey, this is great for a month or two and then quit. Because I think that you could be very helpful to a lot of current soldiers, previous soldiers, veterans.
Well, I don't think
people who are interested in politics, whatever.
Sure, yeah. I don't think that it's always going to be military and veterans and stuff like that, but it's definitely going to be targeted for those transitioning service members and stuff like that. And just here's a little bit of information, then here's some great talking points, and here's some great questions to ask and stuff like that. So I think that's really important for everybody to hear. Especially to the civilian side of things, like whether they be spouses or non-spouses, whatever, if they're a civilian, they're a civilian. And I think it's important for them to be able to understand.
What I think would almost be fun, I'm going to say it, is to have Paul on the show.
Oh, God, I can't fucking stand that asshole.
I know, but wouldn't that be remarkable?
Listen. On one hand,
3 or 4 Trumpers and one idiot.
Yeah, look. On one hand, I gotta say, like, as a human being, I care about him and his health and well-being. Right? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I hope he dies, but I am going to say
I grew up with him. He's my oldest friend.
Yeah, I grew up with him too. I will say though is his ideology behind everything is so extreme, it's ridiculous. Like I said earlier on the show, 90% of what Trump is doing, sure, all for it, bro. But there's a couple of things that I'm just like, hey man, like leave the VA alone. Like get more health providers.
Yeah. We
stuff
talked
like that.
about that last night in depth. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So we went over some of that information too in the podcast. So I think it's really informative, really like, hey, we do need more people in the VA to be able to process stuff like that. Now, look, if you want to streamline the process by getting rid of the archaic technology systems that they have in place, like Windows 95 is still a thing,
Right.
it's some of them are, they're hand filing things, and it's taken months and months and months to get to it. Like, I think that's really ridiculous. I think that, if I can go and access my medical files online by going through my portal or something like that, then I should be able to file the claims online and, sure, of course, be seen by a doctor. That's going to take a little bit of time, nurses, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then after that, it shouldn't be such a long process.
No, it should not. And honestly, what I think Elon's trying to do is eliminate a lot of waste in the VA and get people in there who really do care about our veterans, who really do want to get shit done. Because, like you said, right now, going through the VA, you gotta wait 3 months for a damn appointment to anything.
Yeah,
it's totally unsustainable. It is.
Well, here's the other side. Here's the other side of that coin: is 25% of veterans are at the VA. 25% of the VA personnel are veterans. So it's like, are they protected? Are they going to lose their job? Like at what point do we say, hey, enough is enough? Or at what point do we say
absolutely.
that? At what point do we say, hey, man, like that may not be such a great idea, because we were originally promised, and I said this earlier too, that they were going to come out and eliminate duplicate bureaucracies within the federal government.
I think what they need to do is eliminate the waste and concentrate on efficiency. Period.
Sure. I get that. And they're working on that.
But stop firing people, but make them more efficient.
Well, I'm not saying that everybody in the federal government, shouldn't be fired. What I am saying is, if they are a veteran, and they are not doing anything heinous, or they're not doing anything immoral, and they're just doing their jobs, why would you fire them? Why would you fire the veterans? Right. And you have a lot of veterans who are in fear for their job, because it's like, well, geez, what the fuck am I going to do now?
Right. Right. And like I said, stop firing them and concentrate on making them more efficient. Period.
Yeah. Well, it's also going to be a knockout, drag out fight when veterans are getting laid off, and then they go to apply to their next nearest local institutions. And then everybody there is getting flooded with resumes, and all the competition's so fierce now.
Yeah. Again, quit firing people in the VA and make the VA more efficient. Period.
Yeah. Well, I think it really starts with hiring more medical professionals.
Yeah, you're right. We talked about that last night as well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. I'm sorry you guys showed up so late. We're now 2 hours and 31 minutes into the recording, and dinner just got here, and I'm pretty hungry myself.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to go ahead and go.
All right.
But I do appreciate you guys making the time for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I will give everybody your love, Mom.
Okay. Well, you guys have a great night. I love
you. All right.
All right. I'll see you later.
Yep. See you later.
Right,
bye. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everything. If you're still with us, I appreciate you still being here. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Make sure you share it with your friends and family. We're trying to get this off the ground. This is our first episode, and we're trying to make a difference here. We're trying to provide entertainment. We're trying to provide, information for especially transitioning veterans. We're trying to provide information about insights into the military and what people don't tell you. So please, again, like and subscribe. I will see you next week. I still don't know. I'm shooting for having a recording on Saturday and publishing it on either the same day or Sunday. So stay tuned. I will have more information for you next week as far as the exact time we're going to be either live streaming or setting up and, publishing videos to our respective social media sites. So again, thank you. I'll see you later.